Alrighty, so we are live, boys and girls. How y'all doing? As y'all can see, I got 2014 Bassmaster Classic champion and just all around awesome angler, Mr. Randy Howell. Randy, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey Fitz, what's happening, buddy? Good to be
Not
here
too,
today.
yeah, it's great. It's great. Oh my lord! All right, so yeah, we got a few people that are coming into the stream from what I'm seeing. At least they're commenting. So, but anyway, well, I know we got a limited time, so I will go ahead and get to some of the conversations we had that we were talking about beforehand. So I think the first thing that we probably should talk about is definitely going to
Hey,
be the
let me stop you a second. First
okay.
thing you need to do is wish Elena a happy birthday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Ladybug, happy birthday, baby.
Yeah, your birthday.
Oh, look at
Birthday.
that.
15 years old now. That's what Oakley, my youngest son, he's 15 too. So you need to
Okay.
be a lot better at 15 than he is because he drives me nuts at 15. So don't drive your dad nuts, all right?
You don't drive me nuts, my lord. Oh man, no, yeah.
I'm
So
sorry to
happy
interrupt.
happy birthday, baby. Mr. Randy said happy birthday to you too.
Yeah, happy birthday. Tell old brother
Yes.
CJ hey too when you get there. I guess he'll watch this later. I
Yeah,
shout out to him even though it ain't his birthday.
yeah. There's Benjamin, or I mean, I got five kids, man. Tori,
Oh,
Elena,
wow.
Ben, CJ, and Maddie, the
All
baby.
right. And tell them all
So
hey then.
I will. I will. All right. Well, the first thing we're going to get to is I feel like some of the I feel like we should talk about the 2021 MLF tour, especially like what you think is how things are going to progress, formats, just all around. How you feel going into this new season?
Man, I tell you that after coming out of 2020, everybody talks about 2020. We know how crazy it was, and we didn't get to fish a complete full season, unfortunately. But right now everything is lined up, looking so good for 2021. Major League Fishing, made the announcement recently, by sort buying FLW and then making it all one big umbrella called Major League Fishing now. So you got the Big Five, tour, which is the Tackle Warehouse Tour. You got our Bass Pro Tour, and then the Cup events. And then all the way down from high school, college, all the way to the top. Now there's a roadmap for success. So kids like my son Lakers, 19, fishing the Toyota Series this year. There's a perfect plan in place now to work your way up to be a professional bass fisherman and truly qualify your way up. And that's really cool about the way the whole Major League Fishing platform. So with the exposure, with the power in numbers of the memberships and how big, FLW was and how big Major League Fishing had grown to as a media platform, you put those together. Now it's just a massive superpower of opportunity for anybody to get their feet wet in fishing. If you just want to be a weekend co-angler guy, you got opportunities to do that in all three different tour levels. You can be a pro, you can be a home guy, stay at home, fish the BFLs on the weekends, or you can work your way all the way up where you want to go. So the possibilities are endless, and the opportunities are going to be great. And so I think it's going to make it a lot better for more anglers to be able to get sponsorship and get exposure and have media to be able to back up, being able to ask sponsors for products or cash because you're going to have more opportunities to get exposure for them. So I'm excited about the sport, the way it's looking right now. Everything's looking good for this new year. Hopefully things will level out here eventually with the COVID stuff, and with the vaccine being around. Hopefully, more people will be able to get it little by little, or whatever needs to happen to kind of put it to rest, where we can get back out and have all our tournaments and not have any shutdowns in the areas where we're going. So that part's good. So I'm excited about it. I really feel like anybody that wants to get into fishing, young or old, I encourage you to go to MajorLeagueFishing.com and check out all the different opportunities there. I'm going to be fishing the Toyota Series a little bit with Laker since he's in those tournaments. He just got his master captain's license yesterday in Georgia. Come over there on the other side of Atlanta and took those tests in a couple days, and I'm proud of him for getting that. So he's going to be able to guide here on Guntersville. So y'all look him up, Laker Howell Fishing on Instagram and on our Instagram, Facebook too, and we'll help get trips booked for him. And he'll be a good guide here on Tennessee River on Guntersville. He spends a lot of time here fishing. So that'll be good. Overall, I'm just ready to get rolling. I'm gonna fish 4 of those Toyota series, like I said, with him. So I'll get to start in the first week of February at Toho. And I've got another Triton boat here at home that's like our home boat, doesn't have any wrap on it, that my boys use here at home. I'm going to use that first couple events just till my new Triton will probably be late February, even possibly early March, with because I'm waiting to run the new secret agent boat that I showed a picture of yesterday under the cover. So can't talk about it yet, but it's going to be.
I was going to ask if you could, man. I was really hoping.
I can talk enough about it. I know enough about it to say, it's been in the development stages for really over a year and a half. They almost brought it out last year at the Classic, and they pulled the plug on it right at the last minute because there were still a few things that they didn't like about it, and it didn't. Some of the things I didn't really like about it, and several of us. So they were good to go back to the drawing board, make some more changes, do a little bit of hull changing, and got the speed up a little bit more than it was originally. And so then with all the COVID shutdowns, everybody was nervous. Although it turned out to be the best year ever in the fishing industry for tackle sales, boat sales, motor sales, everybody was up 35, 40%. But they didn't know it at the time, so they pulled the plug on the boat and held it, and then started back developing. Triton's actually got a new engineer now, and it's really, really good. He came from Lawrence, but he's a really good engineer. Has been working on this new boat, and so when we start getting more opportunity to tell about it or show more pictures of it, I'm kind of waiting on them to do what they need to do, and hopefully get the deadlines for a boat for me to get built and used and wrapped in time for the start of the regular Bass Pro Tour season. So stay tuned to my platforms, and we'll be showing all that stuff as fast as we can.
Awesome. I'll definitely be linking. When we cut the link, I will ask for some information, especially for Lakers guides on Gunnersville. I'll post all of it once the video processes, and make sure everybody can click that link. I do have one. We do have one question that I feel like is relevant to talk about the new 2021 series or season. You mentioned about how things are just progressing and making it where it's easier to compete. He's optimized outdoors. Do you think that's going to add more competition to the tournaments this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really going to expose a lot more good anglers that haven't had an opportunity to be seen yet or recognized yet, because there's so much talent in the bass fishing world, everywhere. There's so many young guys and not just young guys, but there's a lot of guys that are 30s and 40s that have been working jobs, and that finally maybe get an opportunity to take a shot at it because of so many different platforms like the Toyota series with so many different divisions in your area. So but definitely the younger guys coming in out of the college series, and just in general, man, there's a lot of talent. I fished 3 of those FLW super tournaments last year at the end of the year that Major League Fishing kind of created for us to have more opportunity to fish. And I was able to be around and see a lot of those guys over there that on the former FLW tour that I really hadn't seen or heard of before. But you see how talented they are when you fish around them, and you see them being consistent, catching good bags of fish every day, but you just hadn't heard of them yet because it just hadn't had as much media platform. And now with Major League Fishing, that media platform is the largest in the world, and it's going to just keep growing. So I think guys are going to have more opportunity to be known and recognized, and that turns eventually into money. So that's what everybody's chasing the dream for, to try to make a living at it. So I'm thankful it's going to be more opportunities for more guys to do it.
Amen. All right. So let's move on to the next question. You actually kind of covered a couple of them. Hold on one second.
I'll talk a lot of times and answer 12, 15 questions.
You honestly covered about 3 of them. So I was like, dang gum, I don't have to answer the question. He's got everything on point. That's awesome. Now, I ain't gonna lie. This is something I think is just really cool. And hopefully it'll show. But Oh, it didn't do it for me. The father and son super team is what I want to talk about here because, and this thing did not want to do it right. Man, are you kidding me? But anyway,
it popped up there a couple times.
It popped up there a couple times. Here, let me see.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think it. Hold on. I think I got it. All right. See, I normally when I think I got this thing down pat, it shows me I don't. It just shows me I don't. So, yeah, father and son super team, man. You fishing with Laker?
Yeah, Laker.
Yeah, in the Toyota series. I watched a video that yesterday that honestly I thought it was you, and then I was just like, wait a minute, it's not Randy. I said that's his son. It has to be his son. I'm like, dadgum, his son looks taller than him.
Oh, he's way taller than me.
I know, man. But no, it was the video where he was close to a very grassy edge, and he had it's like he brought his bait out of it and then just looked away. And then all of a sudden, this big old one just come with big old white belly and just beautiful color fishes come up and snatch, and he's just like, oh, like I'm supposed to be paying attention.
Yeah,
I was just a monster watching him reel that in.
He looked at his phone. And he pulled his phone out of his pocket because he hadn't had a bite and checked his phone. And I had just texted him because I was me and Robin and Oakley were in my boat just down behind him. And I texted him to say, hey, you need to throw put a Zaco on your chatterbait. We caught, whatever I was telling him. And he looks at his phone, and then luckily he had his YOLO pole back there with the GoPro running and caught that moment when we went back looking through footage. It was like, hey, look at that. That was cool. That fish bit. Right there, and you knew it bit, but you didn't know till you watched the highlight there, and you could actually see the white belly flash when it grabbed it, and he set the hook. So that was cool. That's why you got to always be recording and keep that YOLO pole in the back of your boat. That's the best thing ever. Not ever miss another good memory in your boat when you're fishing.
That was such a monster, man. I was just watching that, and I got my blood pumping watching that. That was so cool.
I know.
Got one question. I feel like is. Well, it's actually somewhat relevant to another, but I'll go ahead and ask you now. Loveable Bass and ask Randy, what is your favorite jerkbait and deep diving crankbait for winter fishing?
All right, jerkbait is pretty, and that's kind of a bait that I use a lot in the wintertime, and it's really known as a wintertime jerkbait. And I love jerkbaits. And Livingston, I've been working with Livingston now since we started in the end of 2012, first 2013, and they had a couple of jerk baits at the beginning that were, okay jerk baits, but they, we wanted them to make a really high, really good pro action model type jerk bait. And at the time, Hank Cherry was with us, and he on Livingston, and he helped, he really helped design that jerk bait, and me and him and Eric at Livingston, and we worked on it and tweaked it. And one thing, Hank's a really good jerk bait fisherman. He went on to win the Classic, of course, last year, and with a jerk bait, but and I think he still uses that Livingston some too. I'm pretty sure, but we didn't have that color in it, so that may be why he was using the color that he was using. But he really got me to experiment more with a jerk bait sinking rather than suspending. I'd always been more of a suspended jerk bait person, and it turned out to be, after he wanted to make the bait where it sinks real slow, that I practiced with it more actually at Gunnersville a good bit that year in the winter. And I noticed I was catching more fish, getting more bites on a bait that was falling slow versus suspending. And so he kind of changed my whole theory of jerkbait fishing. And so we developed that jerkbait called it's the Livingston 121C. And that 121 is just a little bit like the 110 Megabass is 110 millimeter, whatever. So it's a 121. So it's slightly longer. It's a little bit taller and wider. So it displaces more water, has a little bit more wider wobble when you jerk it. It still has the same action like the Megabass. It still will dart side to side in about a 12-inch radius side to side. And then when you pause it, it's got a weight transfer system in it that slides across the back for castability on a long cast. But also, if that weight is slid forward, that nose will fall, and it'll kind of fall real slow, nose down like a dying shad. And in the wintertime, you ever fish in the lakes where shad are dying a lot in the wintertime? They're stunned and they're just kind of falling. They're fluttering around and falling. That's what that jerkbait looks like so much. Plus, you got the sound of that electronic baitfish sound that's just going and it's making sound. So when it's dead still, I've had fish at Gunnersville. I'll never forget the year we developed and played with that bait. I went out there and was fishing it, and the second fish that I had bite on it, I stopped it, and I knew it was sitting there sinking, making the sound. I'm watching my line, and all of a sudden my line just goes, and it takes off, and it straight lined me, and I mean, I hit him like that, and it was about a 4-pounder, and he must have come from a long ways to get it, and just went the other way with it when it was falling, and he almost took the rod out of my hand, literally, like we always say. So that sound is more effective on the slower a bait is. So a bait that moves real slow, that doesn't have a lot of, fast action to it, that sound is a lot better. So the 121C, they also have it in a 121D, which is the deeper, which is the bigger lip. That's my favorite jerk bait, and there's a lot of colors in it, but I use one a lot called a beauty shad, which is kind of a see-through translucent color, a little bit of blue, a little chartreuse line, and a kind of a shad colored belly. And then I use the white, the pearl looking white color a lot. And those kind of two of my favorite colors. Then the table rock shad color always works in stain water and up north for smallmouth. So that's the best for that. Crankbait, my howler that I won the class on. Yeah, that's
howler.
That's not
beast.
It's not really a deep diving crankbait, but it's kind of a medium diving crankbait that really I specialize in that 7 to 10 foot zone with that howler. And we actually have the howler original and the howler plus. The original is about 7 to 9 feet. The plus is a little longer, a little wider, and it goes about 8 to 10 feet, but it has a bigger, wider wobble versus a tighter wobble with the original howler. So for a deep diving, that's my favorite. But if you want a deep, if he's saying deep diving, meaning something that goes past, 15 feet, I've got a super deep howler, which is called the Deep Plus. And that's like a 25 to 30 foot. That's like a 10XD type bait, real deep bait. But at the regular deep size, we got a Livingston. It's called a Deep Impact DI 18, Deep Impact 18, and it's a true 16 to 18 foot diver, and it's similar size to like a 6XD type bait, but it has its own look, a little bit different look than the rest of them. Wide wobble, electronic bait fish sound. That's my favorite deep diver. You can cast it a mile. All the Livingston baits are heavier than everybody's baits because they have a battery and a sound chip all sealed inside with the balance of the weight. So you can cast them better in the wind. You can cast them further, and the further you cast the bait, the deeper, more effective you can work it, and the better you can get a bite. That's my opinion on that.
Yes. Oh man, no, Livingston is just it's a beast, man. Some of the biggest fish I've ever caught have been on Livingston baits. Back in 2016, I got my hands on a Pro Sizzle. It was the first time I'd actually ever heard of Livingston, because normally I shop local. I don't go to too many big stores.
Yeah,
just the area I'm in, and the fact I have 5 kids, that kind of tells you why. But I was actually able to get a Pro Sizzle. It was the baby bass, and the one that tail lights up and everything, man.
Yeah.
They went nuts on that thing. It had just the perfect glide. That the EBS was just off the hook. I remember I was actually borrowing a boat from a caretaker because I was fishing on a private lake. Actually, it was a club lake, and the caretaker had a boat, and I borrowed it. And I want to say it was closer. It was like late summer, early fall. Like it wasn't there just yet, but you could tell they were schooling. And I threw that spook out there, close to the bank, but right underneath some cover, and just twitched it a little bit. And then I just saw that big mama just come up and paused and just looked at it. And I didn't budge, and I twitched just once, and then she just inhaled it. And that was, whoo! That was just it's so nerve wracking and gets your blood pumping when you see that big one come up and just look at it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, just right. Anything, you're scared to just move because that big one's just sitting there watching it. But Livingston is a beast, and I'm a big fan of that product. But thank you so much for that one. Now let me see. I think all right. I do have one more question. George Bassmasters Marshall says, "What is your PB? Current PB?"
My current PB is 10 pounds, 8 ounces. I haven't caught a super big fish. I haven't caught. I've actually caught 8. Let me see. No, let me think. I don't want to lie here. Make sure I got it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I've caught six 10.5 pounders in my life, but never one over 10.5. So weird. It's so weird because the biggest one I caught in a tournament was at Lake Amistad. You remember when we fished Bassmaster at Lake Amistad years ago? Probably the first year, maybe, or the second year. Um, and and it's before Amistad got not good. It used to be really good the first few years we went there, and after we went there and it was on TV, I think everybody in the world started fishing it, and it got really hard to pick fish there. But that year I caught a 10.8, and I caught it on a jerkbait, and I was so excited because it was the biggest fish I knew I'd ever caught at the time, and it looked like a 12-pounder because it was May and it already spawned out, so it had a giant head. I thought it was a striper when I was fighting it. Didn't really know it was even a bass because it never came up. And I got it to the boat, and it had grass all over it, so it was kind of wadded up. When I dug it out of the grass and pulled it up, I freaked out. And I was like a kid all day in the live well back when we kept them in the live well. I bet I looked in the live well 50 times that day because it was curled up in my Triton live well. It wouldn't even stretch out. It was so long. It was 31 inches long. And
Oh man,
the Texas wildlife guys were there at our weigh-in trying to see if anybody was going to catch a share of lunker-sized fish. So they were looking at all the big ones, measuring them and checking them. And that fish should have weighed 13 pounds, that guy said, by his length and his girth. He was just real skinny. And lo and behold, I thought I would get big bass that day. Back in those days, they used to pay $1,000 each day for big bass. And then they cut that out later. But that year, Greg Hackney caught an 11-pounder the same day I caught a 10.8. So I didn't even get big fish that day.
Oh man, no, yeah, that's huge. Yeah. Oh, dude, no, just hearing that your PB is that. I mean, I have a 10-pounder PB, but mine's 10.2, and it's actually a private family pond, and I'm terrified someone actually pulled her out of there because I tried to find her again this summer, and I think I ended up catching like one of her siblings. But it's
that's a big fish. Anywhere you go, that's a big fish.
It was, man. She really was. I honestly, we had a gator issue, and I was scared the gator was going to eat her. But let's just say the gator got took care of, so I'm going to go there on that one. But
are you
all right?
What part of Georgia are you in?
Central. You know where Macon and Warner Robins is at?
Yeah,
I'm in that vicinity.
That part. Okay, I didn't know if you were how far south you were for I to hear about alligators, because usually you got to get on down there pretty far to get alligators.
I'm in the area of gators and bears. I hit one midsummer last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. So I got the best of both worlds, the gators and the bears. So
yeah.
Oh Lordy. All right. Now here's where we're gonna go a little cringy. At least, something we definitely need to talk about. A very big moment. We're going to show a small little clip, guys. If it'll play for me. There we go. Can you hear it all right?
No, I'm not hearing anything on my end. No audio.
No audio.
I'm liking the video I'm seeing, though. I just can't hear it.
Hold on.
I'm liking the highlights I'm watching.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could say it's mine, but it ain't. I had to borrow it. It's supposed to play through it, but yeah, I had to borrow it from Mercury.
Yeah.
Well, that's very special moment, man. That I've seen that so many times. I'm sorry that I didn't have the audio set up. I thought I had it working, but that was a very special moment, no doubt.
Yeah,
we could tell by everyone could tell how special it was, just the look on your face, and you honestly at one point you looked like you were struggling just to stand up, like you looked like your knees were about to buckle when you realized how further in the standings you had got at the weigh-in.
Yeah,
and then when it came around to you and Edwin, I want to say it was Edwin Ayers.
Evers, yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it came down to you and Edwin, and it's almost like I said, just the look on your face, and then the look on his, and then the moment they announced it, it looked like it took you 1 second. It's almost like you're like, wait, did I win that? Wait, I did win that, and then just, man, it was. Like I said, you could just read that emotion and that win. It goes to show how the Bassmaster Classic is truly just an all-around special ordeal. I mean, even if you're not competing in it, it seems like there's special moments that happen either on the water or at the expos. I mean, it really, there's a reason why I say it's like the granddaddy Super Bowl World Series of the fishing world, is because it's just, it's like the biggest, to me, like one of the biggest, if not the biggest gathering of anglers. And, but still the look on your face when you won it, like I said, the moment they said Edwin's weight, and like I said, you had a small pause, but then you realized you won it. What was going through your mind at that moment?
It was pretty amazing. I tell you, we had a good run of those classics. Were really special events for all of us and all the guys that everybody knows in the sport of fishing. It kind of built the sport of fishing, from Van Dam to, Reese, Iconelli, everybody, and thankfully me included, that have won the classic. All those years, those were, the Super Bowl of bass fishing for all those years. It's changed a little bit now that we're all on Major League Fishing, and we're getting ready to build the Red Crest event, which this year, because of the COVID stuff, they didn't allow them to have it during the year, so they're going to still have the tournament, but not the actual expo show. So 2022, we've got a while before then, but that's going to be an awesome event. I encourage everybody to start, following and watching that on Major League Fishing. But the Bassmaster Classic, like I say, it's been built for, nearly 50 years as the Super Bowl of bass fishing. And at the time in 2014, when I won that, that was my 12th time in the classic at the time. I went on to make 16 classics in my years there at Bass. But that 12th time, I failed 11 years before I won it in the 12th year. So it's when you look at the fishing, it's so different in other sports, because, you lose way more than you ever win, unfortunately. But that was the one I'd prayed for my whole life, my whole career. And I knew that was always the event that I wanted to win, because we knew that had the biggest impact on our career. Up till that point, I had a good career, but I never had a major title, to kind of stick in my hat, in my resume, for legacy wise, and I always wanted to win that. And so it was really, and the way it all happened, I never would have dreamed it happened that way, because you always think you're going to practice and prepare, and you visualize what you think you're going to do one day. When it happens, you're going to get on the fish, you're going to figure them out, and you're going to lead the first day and second day, and then you're going to win on the last day. And all of kind of the way I had kind of scripted in my own mind was totally not how God allowed it to happen, and he did it that way. I think God did it the way he did it to kind of show the fishing world, and show all of us, me included, that, he's in control, and, you can, you put your faith and trust in him, and his time and his will is different for everybody. But when it's his time and his will for something to happen, that no matter what, you can't stop it. That's how that was. I was in 11th place, 9.5 pounds back, really didn't have a mathematical chance of winning. So all the pressure was off of me to win. I was just happy to be out there the next day and fishing the final day, getting to have the King's Home kids were all coming out that day. We had a bus. We had rented a bus to bring all those kids, and all the ladies from the homes, had like 150 of them in a whole section. And the great thing at the time, ESPN had given us a big section right on the front and center for them to sit on that final day. So I was excited they were going to get to come to something special. They'd never been out. Most of them kids had never been out to anything special like that. So I was just going to come in and give them a shout out and let them get on the camera for a minute. And that's kind of what I was excited about. And then lo and behold, God's plan was different that morning. And, he gave me that whole vision of turning around and going back to this bridge. And then, and it was definitely a supernatural event that day. It was nothing that no person could have ever done what happened that day to me. I was just thankful I got to be the guy that the Lord chose to do it with that day, because it was the best fishing day ever. It was so easy. Didn't lose nothing. Just, had no idea and still didn't know I was going to win. My wife and boys come. We got to watch it on the bridge all day. And, I just caught fish all day, had a good time. And not until the end of the day did I realize when I got out at the weigh-in and I got out at the parking lot at the boat ramp to go back to Birmingham, and Davey Hite comes up to interview me, and he gave me the first inkling that I might be in contention to win. And because at the time we can't know what's going on, whereas like Major League Fishing, I love so much about knowing what everybody's got, so you don't have to worry about if you got enough or not. Right off the bat you're either doing good or you're not, so you can make those adjustments. So we couldn't do that at the time, so I didn't know I was leading. And when I got in the truck driving back, and I asked Robin, what's the score at the bass track say? What place am I in on the bass track? And she said, you really want to know? I said, yeah. She said, well, you've been leading since 7:30 this morning. I said, are you serious? And she's like, yeah. She said, I said, am I still leading like in the end? Does it look like I'm leading? She said, well, it looks like it right now. I just had taken my third bite of my bologna sandwich. I hadn't eaten all day. I caught some of the fish. I had a bologna sandwich. That's what I ate back then, was bologna. Then after I won the Classic, I ate bologna and cheese. But but I was driving out and I got sick to my stomach. I couldn't eat another bite. I started crying. She was crying. We were trying not to get too emotional because it was such a big moment. And you never want yourself to get so up and excited, because somebody always pulls the rug out from under you right at the end, and somebody beats you in the last minute. So I didn't want to get too hyped up, but I kept thinking, how could God allow all this to happen so perfectly and then me not win in the end? So in the end, like I say, when it come all the way down to me and Edwin Evers in the end, and I still couldn't relax and think that Edwin wasn't going to beat me, because Edwin's so good, and I figured he had enough to do it. And then when I saw that it didn't, that's why I did that double take, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just won the Bassmaster Classic, and then it all went crazy, and it was just a surreal moment. And I tell you, I couldn't have scripted it any better. And I say this to people for 6 years, almost 7 years now. It's been when people ask about it, if it had happened just like it happened to somebody else, I would still say it was the best. That was the best Bassmaster Classic story ever on record. Even if it was somebody else, because the way it happened, come from behind, it's just a Cinderella story. All sports fans love a Cinderella story and love an underdog, and that's kind of what I was and how it all happened. So I'll always be grateful. And the cool thing is that we lived an hour and 15, 20 minutes from Guntersville, and we always wanted to move here in the future. And I'd love to get here young enough for my boys to be able to grow up here some, but we didn't think we'd ever be able to do it. And after winning, and then, Boyd Duckett lived up here, just had moved up here, and he bought this development where I'm at, and I was able to get a lot from Boyd, good deal on a lot, and he helped me out, and then got to know enough people that we're able to move up here in the end of 2015. So I've been able to live here, and I live in Spring Creek, right where I won at. I'm looking out my window now, and I can actually see where I caught my last bass, that 6.5 pounder that day out in my back of my creek. And I crossed that bridge that I won on 3 or 4 times a day when I'm home, and I get to see it every time. And I never cross over and not say, Lord, thank you for what you did right here at this bridge that day. It changed our lives. So pretty thankful for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you brought up Kingsholm. It's funny. I was actually going to segue into the 15 Classic, because I hadn't followed too many classics for a while. I had a lot going on. I won't go into that story right now, maybe later. But I watched the 15 Classic where Casey won it, and I was watching you, and you actually looked like you had some tanks come off. Like, I feel like, honestly, now that because I went back and rewatched it earlier this week, just because I remember, like, I wanted to bone up just a little bit, and there were 2 fish that came off, and it was such a lethargic bite because that was so cold. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, watching it, like, I've seen it many times, and it still chills me to the bone every time I watch it. The way that it's portrayed, and you guys are just bundled up, man. I mean, it looked like it was just so cold. But I feel honestly, like, do you think that those two fish that you lost, that came off, like, that lethargic bite that came off, do you feel like you might have actually had a closer running to win that classic if you had caught those two?
Man, I tell you that's still a painful one to think about because I come off of winning here at Guntersville, so I had all the pressure and the press and everybody talking about can he repeat or can you go back to back? That's what everybody wants everybody to do in sports, and then I get out there and I actually am in fourth place, only a pound and a half out of first, and in the year prior I was in 11th. 9.5 pounds out, and I won. So I'm thinking, man, the Lord's setting me up to let this happen again. This is like a done deal. I'm going to win this thing. I really thought that, which we don't say that, because you're stupid if you say that in the sport. But because it's
jinx you.
It's a humbling sport, so you definitely can't count your chickens before they hatch. But that day, I really thought that it was going to happen, and right off the bat that morning, I had another little one of those moments. I was running up the lake where I'd been going way up the river. And as I ran past this cove, I just looked in this cove and I heard that voice again say, turn around and fish that point right there. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that, but I'm hoping this is going to be like it was last year. So I turn around, I run over in there and I throw my howler, the same bait, the crawfish, Guntersville crawl color. And it was on camera right off the bat. I never even fished there. And boom, I catch this 4-pounder and he had it down his throat, choked, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is getting ready to happen again. And then I didn't catch nothing else for a while. Then I ran up to where I was catching them, and we just had a dark, cloudy, cold day with no wind, no water flow, and just a terrible day for the cranking bite that I had been on. The shallow bite just died, and I did have those bites that day. But looking back, I think I was too hard headed. I should have adjusted. I should have went, maybe a shaky head or something on them same areas, because I feel like the big fish that I was catching were still in those rocks. I just think they weren't active and wouldn't bite. So two of those fish, like you saw, that I hooked up with, they were just dead weight, and you could just feel that big, head shake slow side to side where they were grabbing the back hook of that bait and just shaking a couple times and just boom, coming off. And every one of them felt like them, 4 or 5 pounders. And I don't even think I caught but 3 that day. I didn't even have a limit. So if you'd have added 2 more, big fish to that, it could have been a different outcome. But, everybody's got that story when they don't win in the end, So all I know is, God was faithful that year that I won, and it wasn't his will for me to win that year. It was will for Casey to win that year, and he did what he needed to do, and he made it happen. And but I was definitely sad that I didn't get to do it back to back. It would have been amazing.
Now I segued into the 15 class to talk about oh Lord, my brain's King's. Is it King's Home?
King's Home, yeah.
King's Home. But before we get to that, no, when they announced that Casey won it, you came out and brought him the trophy. I don't know if you were intentionally doing it. For some reason, just looking at it from the angle I thought it was kind of funny. It was like you picked the trophy up and then stopped and were like noting him like, hey, come over here and get your own trophy. Just a little like, hey, come on, I walked it this far. You can walk over here and get your own trophy. I mean,
playing with him a little bit. Yeah, and I held on to it a little bit when he took it. I held it a little bit.
That was so funny, man. Oh my Lord. But they mentioned King's Home on the 15 Classic as well. And that was actually a special moment in my household because my wife, she grew up with, she had some issues. She had some rough growing up. I mean, not knocking her parents, but she had some issues that, I won't go into full detail, but the moment she heard about King's Home and what she did, like she broke down and just she was in tears and was just so grateful that there was something out there like this.
Yeah.
And
that's what it's all about. Yeah.
So that you have a big standing of respect in this household because of that, and the way that you present yourself. Actually, this is kind of we're getting close to wrap up. So here comes the last cringe alert. I want to tell you thank you for all you have done and how you have presented yourself all these years. every time that you have hooked up, I always just, I hear you praising Jesus, hear you praising the Lord. And that was always one thing that always resonated with me really hard. And if it wasn't for Randy Howell, there would be no Fishing with Fitz, because you were by far one of the biggest catalysts and inspirations for me to do this.
Wow, I didn't know that, man. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
That's another reason why it was so special that you agreed to do this, because like I said, we went to the Classic this past year. I had four of my five kids with me. And I was supposed to meet up with Davey Height too, because him and I had been going back and forth on Twitter joking around. And I did get meet to Mark Zona, but Davey was just so wrapped up, I wasn't going to really bother him. But we went to that Livingston booth, and I was just sitting there waiting. I'm like, all right, where's Randy? Where's Randy? Like I said, I was more than a little jittery and almost fanboyish. Now you want to see a real fanboy moment I had? I'm just so glad the cameras died. Is when I met Jimmy Houston. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. But the way you've resonated and the way that you've presented yourself, your faith, just all around, just who you are, and the way that what you've done with fishing as well as what you've done outside of it. Like I say, you are a huge inspiration for this channel and this new path that I'm walking. So without you, it never would have happened. So thank you.
I appreciate that, and I don't take that lightly. That's the biggest compliment that I can get from what I do in this sport. For people like you, not just your story, but anybody else that's got an inspirational story, that hope that I was able to help motivate somebody or inspire somebody or let somebody see Jesus through my life through fishing. And that's what I do it for. That's what my purpose is out here. And God's given me a lot of great opportunities and a lot of platforms. We try to be a good steward of that, and also to see, I praise the Lord in the good times and the bad times. I praise the Lord when I get them in the boat. I praise the Lord when I lose them. I praise the Lord when I lose way more than when I win, because the rain falls on the just and the unjust both, so I'm just like everybody else. I'm just thankful and blessed when I win and do good. And when I'm gone, I know God's got a purpose and a plan for the disappointments just as much he does for the success. And it's just like stories like you that motivate me, and then things we do with King's Home and the money that gets raised through my Triton boat giveaway every year. Like this year was a record. This past year was a record. We did $318,000 raised with that one boat, and they had a $300,000 deficit at King's Home because of the COVID stuff. They had to shut the thrift stores down. 3 thrift stores that fund the ministry that they own, they had to shut them down for almost 3 months. They were $300,000 extra in the hole, and that $318,000 the boat raised basically, put them back at, even to go out of 2020 without a deficit. So huge thanks and blessing for that, for all the people that donated and gave to that. And we're excited to be able to keep doing what we're doing this year in 2021 at the end of in November again, doing it again, and hopefully keep raising more money every year and awareness for not just King's Home, but all need-based charities like King's Home that help kids in need, and help women with children, and women in general running from domestic violence and abuse and bad situations. It's a 3-part ministry. So I just encourage everybody to get out and just be aware of what goes on in those ministries and help them any way you can. If you got one in your area, it don't have to be King's Home. If you got one in your area somewhere, just be aware of it, that you can help do something. Every little bit helps and makes a difference, and that's all we can do. Just try to be a difference maker in the world, in this crazy world we're in now. And we need more good things happening. I think this year is going to be bigger than ever to be a light in the dark world.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we've passed the mark of, because you were right, man. Talking about fishing, time flies.
Yeah,
it really does. Well, look, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because I don't want to keep you. I know you're a busy man, but like I said, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you. I'm fairly certain that everyone else, especially when they get out of school, because I do have a lot of younger viewers on the channel. When they get a chance, they'll appreciate this as well. Guys, y'all definitely make sure y'all follow Randy Howell. Fishing at Instagram. Also follow him on YouTube. And don't forget, make sure you subscribe to him and watch The Catch with him and his wife, Robin, which is a very, very, very inspiring little series they do together.
Yeah.
When they get a chance to.
Hopefully we'll have some more of those, to film some more of those this year. We didn't do a whole lot with that last year, but we're hoping we'll have more to add to that this year, because we enjoy doing that stuff together, and hopefully we can do a little bit more of that, inspire some more people, and get some more girls and women out there fishing with their boyfriends and husbands, and have some fun. That's what it's all about.
Amen. Yes, sir. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna link. Just if you can send me the links that you want me to put down in the description when this video is done processing, especially definitely gonna make sure include King's Home, because definitely that is something that definitely needs to be provided for and encouraged more. I mean, that's, like I said, it's very touching stuff, especially in this household. And I'm definitely going to wish you the best of luck on the upcoming year. And I'll probably get a chance to do this with you again. If talk to you maybe one day in the future. Maybe meet up with you in person.
Maybe after I win a tournament here, maybe we'll win a tournament. I got to win a tournament this year. I haven't won a tournament since 2015. That's the last big one that I won, was the Northern Open and at the New York. So I really need to win one this year. So hopefully we do that. I'll come back on here with you and do another show with you. All right.
That'd be great. I appreciate it. Anyway, thank you so much, Randy. Guys, thank you all so much for coming in and asking the questions. Like I said, I can't express how grateful I am, man. Thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and end the broadcast, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. God bless.
Appreciate y'all. Tell all your family hey, and thanks for following. God bless y'all. We'll see y'all on the trail this year, maybe on live stream. All right. We'll see you.
All right. God bless, guys.
See you.